It's finally time to start firing up the grill. From city to shore, Acme is everything you need to prep for this summer season. Download the Acme app to shop for this season's essentials any way you want. Open the Acme app, clip your deals, then order your items online. An experienced Acme associate will carefully select your groceries, bag your order, and bring it right to your car or deliver right to your door. Download the app or visit acmemarkets.com for program details.
Hi there, this is Adam Kirbers. This is another episode of my podcast where we talk about actually various things. So it all started with my work as an author. This is why the title of this podcast is my work as an author. But then things changed, so we are right now with desire, a very interesting topic indeed. I am here in Ordu in Turkey. This is a Black Sea region, provincial town, or it has been promoted to a big city. However, we are still in the pandemic, and I hope that all of you outside there are doing fine, and thank you for joining my podcast. The last time, yesterday, we talked about the Oedipus complex, the relationships, and what might lead to the development of homosexuality, as well as what might lead to a certain desire in an adult. We came to the conclusion, no matter whether you agree with the psychoanalysis or not, that the first year you have as a child are very formative. They, in a way, determine your desire. What you desire, your sexual orientation as well. So the emphasis again, and the key question was that your desire is part of your social gender. Partially, of course, there's heterosexual desire, but in a way that homosexuality is not something you are born with, but rather that is a social gender as well. So, simply put, there is just no biological indication whatsoever that someone would be just different from us or from heterosexuals and so on. However, today we will continue those psychological implications. They are the second big topic. The first was, if you remember, social implications, where we tried to have a broader scope, and now we have a more narrow scope. However, it is very important to emphasize that they play into each other, so you cannot separate let's say social factors with psychological factors. A simple example would be a child from the middle class, from the working class, and from the upper class have different social conditions, have different value, things which their surroundings demand from them, want from them. So in some this is what we know. This is what we know from Bourdieu. This is what we know from many sociological research, that certain social not certain, but that your social class determines what you demand of your child, how you want to raise it, what is being promoted in children, what they should accomplish, what they should, or what worldview and world approach should they have. Again, an example, it is well known that in the middle class, parents, they some sort of demand more from the children. They want that their children accomplish more, do all kinds of stuff, especially if this is a middle class where the parents were upstarters. Upstarters mean they came from a lower class, from an let's say economically lower class, and they made it. If you want, they made it on top, or they have accomplished something, and then they became a middle class, part of the middle class. So these people are very ambitious. They want. They had to work hard to get there where they are. This is, I mean, if you some sort of climb the social ladder, it is possible. When you are from a lower social class, it is possible for now. Within the capitalist system, it is possible that you can rise the ladders, but again, you have to probably accomplish more than someone who was born in the middle class, because this person whatsoever has already the conditions and so on. And of course, you have to overcome the mindset. For example, in the working class, there is some sort of a mindset that you will know that you should be happy with what you have, and that hard or labor's work or physical work, for that matter, is the most desirable thing. And so if you some sort of climb the social ladder, then you have to overcome the obstacles in your mind, which has been put in place by a social class as well. So, and those people who are mostly overachievers, who climb the social ladder, then they demand certain things or more than the usual from their children, and so on and so forth. And this has, of course, implications what you might desire value system, like, desire, how do you consider someone, for example, whom you perceive as lazy and whom you perceive is not very ambitious, and so on. These things do indeed matter, and they have a lot of common with how, for example, as a man, what do you see in the woman you desire, their psychological, how should she be, how their psychological components, and vice versa. So a woman, what does her man should have, what psychological aspects, character traits should he have, so that the woman feels desire for him again. And we did not talk about this more explicitly, only and we won't be able to talk about this in this podcast. This, of course, that you have a hidden desire. This is which makes it a bit difficult to talk about it, because the subconscious still it exists in my view. The sub, or your unconscious, your mind still exists, and within this mind there are, of course, hidden desires, like you may some sort of grew up in a family where everything laborers, where everything over ambitious and overachieving would be considered as desirable, and yet you sometimes desire just doing nothing, and then you some sort of have a desire for people who surround you, who some sort of, in a way, are easy going, so take things karma and so on. So the opposite plays a crucial role as well. In that sense, it has a lot of psychological factors, because in a way, if you grew up in an environment where you always were pushed to the limits, this could be exhausting. Then you some sort of desire someone who is some sort of karma, where you look at them and you somehow see everything they do, and so on, seems so smooth, seems so easy going, and so these things have can and are very important as well. So that and it would be indeed interesting, and it is, of course, a big issue, because in sexual desire you desire indeed something which is for which is out of reach as well. So right now, my argument was, or my side, my thesis was that every desire you have some sort of must include some sort of fulfillment, that you are being desirable, that in a way or another, that you have to imagine that when I would have the chance, when this and that would be happening or would happen, then I would have a chance to go out with this woman, with this attractive woman, or and so on. So there plays a lot of psychological factors are in place there, and this is something we should always keep in mind. However, there is of course some sort of desire. This is then deep fantasy you have, which is in a way not in the reach, and so on. This is something we will not talk here in explicitly, because it is difficult to pin it down. I mean, I said one thing here, the opposite, so that you some sort of, let's say, this is what you some sort of have in married couples when they have been together for a couple of years. Then you have all these tips how to some sort of revive their sex life and so on, and their role plays always a crucial part, and a role play where you some sort of can escape your daily routine, your life, and those role plays, those sexual desires and so on, they play indeed a crucial part in your sexual desire as well. But again, it is not that simple that you can simply say a woman or a man in this social position this and that, then immediately desires the opposite as well. I mean, let's say a woman who is in a way free. This is actually very common as well. But a woman who seems some sort of self-sufficient, independent, nowadays sometimes have sexual desire from being together with a dominant man and so on. This again plays in this fear, and in a way overcoming the fear. I mean, again, I will bring up Sex and the City. I mean, if you're the Miranda type, you of course have some sort of fears about your sexuality, that you're not sufficient enough, and that you some sort of therefore choose men who are in a way weaker, who are in a way more controllable. And like I said, this is actually indeed common, especially among some women who say, yeah, I don't want an attractive man or an over-sexualized man, because then you have to share them with other women who are maybe assumably have more sexual experience and so on. However, and then this occasionally then this woman who is not very secure about her sexuality and always some sort of prefers a weaker man, and in that sense acts irrationally, prefers weaker man, then some sort of has desire of a strong man, and then she would be some sort of subordinated to him or not. These things, they play indeed a crucial part. However, it is not that quite clear that we cannot say per se, yeah, if this and this, or we cannot some sort of generalize it, because these are very individual desires in that sense. You have to really look into someone's life. This has a lot of aspects. I mean, this is as well in a relationship that goes over years. The sexual desire is waning. This is indeed what we have know a lot about. This is something there is a lot of literature and a lot of people earning money from. So some sort of revive the sexual life when you're above 40 and so on. And however, there are certain implications. And it would be I think it would not make sense in a way to go into too general and so on. And this is some sort of the bridge today to Alfred Adler, who was one of the who next to Freud in Vienna, who next to Freud in Vienna created his own school of thought. This is individual psychology, where in a sense every individual was considered as independent entity, as an individual. Alfred Adler was this student of Freud, and he talked a lot about inferiority complexes, and that you some sort of try to overcompensate them. I mean, this is what we have talked as well right now. I mean, this feeling of inferiority, that you are not man enough or that you are not woman enough in an age of over-sexualization. This is what we I notice now left out, is of course the over-sexualization of the Aphrodite gender we have in our society has indeed effects on other women as well. I mean, women who do not perceive themselves as attractive, women who assume that they cannot compete with other women, and so on. This is something indeed we have to emphasize as well. And with Alfred Adler we have this, I mean, this is some sort of a presumed inferiority, and around this inferiority then a lot of, if you want, your behavior, this is very important, and this is the connection to desire actually with all these inferiority complexes, that these assumed or real inferiority, that this then it has a lot of impact on your behavior, on your desire as well as sexual desire. I mean, if you and this example of Miranda in a way shows, I mean, if you are some sort of do not feel as a woman or do not have the self-esteem as a woman in your sexuality, then you some sort of choose the weaker option. If you want one man who is controllable, the same goes to man as well. Man, in a way, of course, there is this beautiful woman, there is this gorgeous woman everyone desires, but as a man you then do not assume that you can get to her, or that she would be interested in you, so that you then again choose irrationally. You then go for the type which some sort of admires you, likes you for what you are. This is the typical peacock who some sort of loves an ugly woman just for the sake that he can get approval, just for the sake that he is the center of her world. And so on, and this plays a crucial part in it, and this perceived inferiority as well as so. And of course, we don't know how much actually this perception is or how much this society is permeated by this conception of your own inferiority. But within our over-sexualized age, you can say that those inferiority complexes are spreading with this over-sexualization, which, like we analyzed, has not only an effect to women as being the object, as being the sole object, but as well as man. So you have to be in a way achieving, you have to be some sort of this potent man, this role model of a potent man, but you some sort of does not accomplish it, and it has as well as effects on women to be attractive, to be this sexual, have this sexuality, this thriving female sexuality. And of course a lot of feminists talked about this. There is something you can have to criticize as well, but of course take it with a big grain of salt, and this is that in some feminist schools there has been taught that sexuality, or the sexuality women would experience would be nothing else than a male sexuality would nothing be else than a male desire, so that the woman in a way has no own desire and therefore just only would assume that she would have a desire, but her sole goal is to please men. This is very common or not very common, but some female, especially in the third wave of feminism, which we talked about, and some sort of recap here again. So they did not have in the third wave of feminism. This is indeed partially propagated that the woman itself would be rather asexual, would not really have a desire, and they some sort of try to back it up with biological understanding, so that women would need emotional connection and so on. This is again something which I said, which in a way harmonizes with the perception of a woman, that woman would only be some sort of gentle, nice, that they emotional, and that woman would be, in that sense, would not be man, would not be go straight forward and so on. And that is the reason why woman, for example, then would not look at one's man's physical appearance, but rather at his character and so on and so on. I mean, if I wouldn't be better, then I would say this narration was brought up by a man, so I don't think this is true. I don't think that women alone that women disregard physical appearance in man. There is of course a lot of study which proves that women indeed lay focus on appearance. This is where first in healthiness. I mean, if someone you are around with is healthy or has a healthy appearance and so on, this matters. This doesn't only matter for women, but this matters in general. So, and of course other things too. So I would not assume that women would not look at man's physical appearance. This is just a misconception. However, this was, if you want a psychological implication as well as the social implication. Again, we cannot go too much into detail, because in according with Alfred Adler, I would say that every case is some sort of specific. Every human being has a specific experience in life. This is how you see the world, your parents, your siblings, how you are being socialized, your culture, your religion. I mean, there comes a lot together, and in a way to some sort of break it down to one narrow assumption would do wrong. This would do wrong. Pardon me. This would do wrong to the variety and intricate life stories everyone has. So we some sort of will confine us with some sort of trying to pin out where we saw, or which some sort of gross or which general implications play a crucial part in desire. Of course, there is of course further research interesting, because we said which type of women and so on. I mean, we talked a little bit of blonde women in that sense. They still have some sort of value within the society. I mean, scarcity, for example, here in Turkey, naturally blonde women are being considered desirable, because there's rare Turkish people or Turkish women there are not many blonde women here in Turkey. This is rather scarce, blonde, blue-eyed and so on. So they are being considered as valuable. This is what you in a way perceive. So every Turkish young, or not every, but in my youth, among Turkish young migrant boys, having a blonde, blue-eyed woman was some sort of something you would consider as valuable. Having a girlfriend who is blonde, blue-eyed, attractive would be was then some sort of valuable and so on. And this is still to this case as well. I mean, this is in the German sphere. I talked about these blonde jokes. I don't know. I really have to look that one up, whether there are as many blonde jokes in the Anglophone sphere as well as there are in Austria and Germany, but in the German-speaking sphere, in Witze you can, I think, have over 1,000 or 2,000 blonde jokes, and these blonde jokes always turn around wonder or have this angle that blonde women are stupid and sort of, in a way, just interested in sex or over-sexualized. So, and this over-sexualization of blonde women, or that would only be found in sex, or that blonde women are prone to have a lot of sex. This is again something you find in the society as well, in over sexualization, in over that the woman, the specifically North European woman who is blonde and blue-eyed, that she is over sexualized, that she is in the center of all attention. This again plays in this perception in the society, in this narration, in this society, in this Aphrodite type, whereas all other women, we said, for example, black women with typical black, if you want, West African features, they are not in the center, or they are some sort of left out of this over sexualization. You may only find them in rap videos. I mean, this is what we some sort of only talked briefly, but in these rap videos, you have some sort of a new black identity, if you want, and this was started in the US with all this black is beautiful, started in the civil rights movement and so on, and earlier. So you have some sort of a regain of identity, of this attractiveness, where black man always some sort of an identity statement, whether you desire a white woman or a black woman. This is at least partially, you can see this in rap videos where you have rap artists or rappers sing about the hoods, about their life, and there you see black women and not white women. So because you would some sort of assume, because many rap songs are about getting wealthy, are about being or having made it, being able to get off the hoods, and then you would assume that every rapper then would immediately sing about having a white woman, having a white blonde woman, and that she's some sort of his status symbol. Yet you don't find this. This is partially because of the black identity and so on, as well as it would be probably this is something you have to say as well, if black rappers would sing about having white women, and it is most likely that they would some sort of would get into trouble, and mostly people would probably hate them. Or do we do even worse? So there is still some sort of barrier, if you want, there as well. I mean, this was so desire. But we are not finished yet. I mean, I want to talk about emotional connection. We started this with love. We some sort of tried to separate desire from love. How can we some sort of manage love, or that love is an emotional investment? We call it an emotional investment which lasts more than, or which has some sort of lasts, is not a short term, and you some sort of feel liking and pleasure by the existence of the other, and as well as you consider the desire of the other as well, of your partner as well. So emotional connection will be very important for us, because this is what we said about your social milieu, about your class as well, that this is not complacency. Know that you want to be among your peers. We brought up the example of French Canadians who speak French, who are among their own people. You some sort of feel at home, you feel comfortable with your peers, with speaking French and so on. And their emotional connection plays indeed a crucial role, especially when it comes to desire. And we will start with a definition of emotions. Connections, we will see then about that. But emotions, here again, I used Google. Emotions are a mental state that engage with the outside world. I mean, this is pretty much simple, bare. I mean, there's not much you have to, or there's not much information. I mean, of course, this is a little bit difficult in English, because there are a lot of synonyms. In German there would be different, but however we will some sort of use this definition of emotion, this really bare, non-saying emotions from Google Earth, from Google Dictionary I wrote down, and we some sort of partially will recap some of those things we said previously. And this is one thing, is that emotions, that they are not mental states. So emotion is something. I mean, what we have to say, that emotions, they are of course more than just a mental state. Emotions can be good and bad, but emotions do arise in your mind, and have their implication in the real world. This is very important. So this means your emotions, they may are in your mind, in your thoughts, but yet they have a real world manifestation, because emotions are always about something. This is very important, not only philosophically, but emotions, in a way, always you have emotions about something. You're emotional about something, even though, let's say, you have a poker face, even though you some sort of hide your emotions, still you hiding your emotions. Your poker face in the real world is a reaction, is an emotional reaction. Your coldness, your hate, your anger, which some sort of might be a feeling of being demeaned, inferiority, whatever, or your sadness. This may arise in your mind, but this has always an effect in real world. It has an effect on how you behave, how you act towards people, and so on. So emotions, this is not just a mental state which you some sort of have to do away with it, and it's gone. So that emotions would be only in your head and confined there, and no one would have access to it. Not that all emotions are visible in the real world. They have their foundation in the real world. Like if you like someone, love someone, these feelings are in your head. Of course, love is, I think it was even proven that with a brain tomograph, it was proven, I think, that if you see a photo of a loved one, then you would have some areas in your brain some sort of get reanimated and so on. So this means that love is something you can detect, apparently. However, I mean, you have to indeed convince me that when you see the person or see a photo of your loved one, that it is really love you feel, and not anything else, because it could be everything. It could be, if you see the photo of a loved one, it could be your excitement. It could be just desire. I mean, just sexual desire. It could be love intermingled with hate and so on. And I think they proved it because they some sort of detected some areas in your brain working. However, nevertheless, if you love a person, if you have some sort of this feeling of love for a person, it always has a real life foundation. This is how you talk with your loved one. This is how you behave towards your loved one. I mean, some men, there are very famous examples, some men, they make a fool of themselves when they are around their loved ones, or some others, they are cold and so on, or some others are just petulant and so on. So this has indeed affects our behavior, affects how we conduct ourselves. And here then we have this word emotional connection. So there these emotional connections, this feeling of this, an emotional connection is something, is a feeling or an affection you have for another person you consider as your part, as part of you, as part of your investment, and as part of your life. You have connections to them, to this person. This must not be a desire per se. Think about the connection you have to friends. This is not a connection of desire. This is a connection of identity, of being a part of a group, of well-being, what have you. So friendship is not built on desire. It would be weird. Or it is just not friendship at all. Desire, meaning in our sense sexual desire. Of course you can have a desire for friendship, a desire to be with other people and so on. However, nevertheless, sexual desire is something you would not find in friendships, rather a connection, emotional trust. There are a lot of words, and emotional connection is something which develops over time. So you do not have an immediate emotional connection to everyone. You may have some emotional connection. This is something we will not talk here about, but some sort of emotional connection sometimes people have for victims, sometimes you have for survivors of tragedies and so on, especially when you had your own share of tragedy. So you have some sort of a connection or emotional. If there is a German word for it, Mitgefühl, which was made very popular by Austrian philosopher Max Scheler. There you have some sort of investment in some a person's life, that you some sort of understand it, that this is severe and so on, even though there are some forms where you understand it or think that you understand it because you think this is you who are being demeaned or whatever, or this is you, or this is about you, or you have understanding because this is severe, this is tragic and so on. In order to make this clear, I mean, we talked about fear, we talked about sexual fear, and we talked about men who are not, or who are put under pressure to be this single breadwinner, as well as women who have to be this over-sexualized woman and so on, and some sort of behave in a certain way, and then you some sort of have an emotional connection to women, or let's make it concrete. Let's say a man, in a way, was betrayed by his wife, and this is something you always see in the newspapers. There was a man who worked his ass off. I mean, this is at least what is propagated in the newspapers. Someone worked his ass off. Someone provided for his family, and his wife cheated on him. This is something which typically hits in this male fear. I mean, the fear not being enough, fear that you cannot accomplish, or that you cannot be this man which society expects you to be. we talked about madman, where you have some sort of a escape route and so on, some sort of always have to compensate and so on. However, and this incident, if you want, that this news that a man who did everything for his family and then his unthankful wife cheated on him, this has of course a very emotional connection to other men as well, and this is something then which goes beyond psychological connections. This has as well as connections through sociological implications as well. I mean, as a man, then some men think themselves in to this person. This is even though you read this about this person in the newspaper, even though you do not even see a picture, or in movies. This is a great example. In movies, there's a man who is just not being loved by his woman, and this is so hard and hurtful for you. And on the first level of emotional connections, if you want, you some sort of see yourself in this and say, oh my God, when this would happen to me, I would be devastated, I would be broke. And then the second level of emotional connection is that this is what Max Scheler then said, this is what you are not really connected in your life and so on. So to this, that you some sort of can distance your own personality from someone's tragedy, but yet still say, oh my God, this is severe, this must be horrifying and so on. This is, for example, you fear or have this connection or affection for people who survived disasters or natural disasters and so on, and have lost all their homes and so on. And you, despite the fact that you have not been in the same position, or that you do not fear this might happen to you, yet you still some sort of have affection and feeling of compassion towards this person who has lost everything, and you have some sort of a feeling of sadness. However, this sexuality, these emotional connections of sexuality is indeed a connection which goes through all social classes and the vice versa. I mean, you have many women, this is again you see in the newspapers as well, a woman who some sort of was beaten by her husband and she tried to emancipate her, she tried to live free. This was especially after 9/11. You read a lot of stories about Muslim girls who tried to break out break out of their family chains, and every woman some sort of read this, oh my goodness, this poor woman and so on, she has to go through a lot. Her sexuality is being curtailed and she cannot choose her own husband and so on, and this led some sort of emotional connection of other women and so on, but as well as man. So man, in a way, the white man, or in a way man, then this is something we will talk or have talked in the gender of culturation. So some sort of this white man, or in general man, want to save this woman from a despot and so on. However, these emotional connections, they indeed have an implication for desire as well. This affection, this connection, then where you see yourself in this other person. So this is indeed very important as well, because one part of desire is that or of emotional connection is that this other person is part of your life, or that you perceive it as a part of your life. However, this is something we will talk about the next time. So we are heading towards our end of this of desire. We will some sort of see through it, and then hopefully we'll come with a good conclusion. However, this was Adem Kebas from Ordu in Turkey. We are still in the pandemic. I hope that you all take care of yourselves, so that we can get through this pandemic safely. Bye.
It's finally time to start firing up the grill. From city to shore, Acme is everything you need to prep for this summer season. Download the Acme app to shop for this season's essentials any way you want. Open the Acme app, clip your deals, then order your items online. An experienced Acme associate will carefully select your groceries, bag your order, and bring it right to your car or deliver right to your door. Download the app or visit acmemarkets.com for program details.